The Great Fire of London, a deep dive. London 1666. A city bursting at the seams with trade, tension and timber. The medieval capital of England was a sprawling maze of wooden buildings, open flames and narrow alleyways. It was a city ripe for disaster. What began as a small flame in a bakery would become one of the most infamous events in British history. The Great Fire of London. London. Before the fire, London was a teeming hub of over 300,000 people. Houses were tightly packed, mostly made of timber and often covered with tar to protect them from the elements, ironically making them more flammable. Streets were narrow, with houses often leaning toward one another. Firefighting equipment was primitive. Leather buckets, fire hooks and water squirts were the best defences available. The summer of 1666 had been long and dry, and the city was essentially a tinderbox. Yet life went on. The bubonic plague had recently killed tens of thousands, and Londoners were just beginning to breathe easier. That peace would be short-lived. The Spark, Pudding Lane, September 2nd, 1666. In the early hours of Sunday morning, a small fire broke out in the bakery of Thomas Farriner on Pudding Lane. Farriner, the king's baker, likely did not fully extinguish his oven. The fire quickly took hold, and within hours it had leapt to nearby buildings. Farriner and his family escaped by climbing out an upstairs window, all except one maid, who became the first recorded victim of the fire. Characters in the blaze: Thomas Farriner, the baker whose shop unintentionally sparked the disaster. Despite the horror that followed, Farriner denied responsibility and lived the rest of his life under a cloud of blame. Samuel Pepys, a naval administrator and diarist, Pepys gave one of the most detailed eyewitness accounts of the fire. His entries show the fear, chaos and heartbreak that unfolded across the city. He even famously buried his cheese and wine in the garden to protect them from the flames. King Charles II rallied his men and the people of London, helping organise firefighting efforts and ensuring law and order. He even ordered the demolition of buildings to create fire breaks. Lord Mayor Sir Thomas Bloodworth famously underestimated the fire's danger. When first informed, he reportedly dismissed it, saying, "A woman might piss it out." His inaction in the crucial early hours may have allowed the blaze to spread uncontrollably. The inferno unleashed. High winds fanned the flames. By Monday, September the 3rd, the fire was consuming London Bridge and racing toward the heart of the city. Structures exploded into flames, and embers were carried far beyond the immediate blaze. By Tuesday, entire neighbourhoods had disappeared. The fire destroyed St. Paul's Cathedral, whose wooden scaffolding caught fire and turned the iconic church into a raging furnace. By Wednesday, the fire began to die down as the winds subsided and fire breaks became more effective. Aftermath: a city in ashes. The destruction was immense. Around 13,200 homes, 87 churches and iconic buildings like the Royal Exchange were gone. Miraculously, only 6 officially recorded deaths occurred, though the real number was likely much higher, especially among the poor. Homelessness soared. Tent cities sprang up in the outskirts, and many feared the plague would return due to the dire conditions. But the fire had a strange upside. It helped sterilise the city, burning away plague-ridden areas. Rebuilding and reform, reconstruction began swiftly. Sir Christopher Wren proposed grand plans to redesign the city with wide boulevards and brick buildings. but most of the city was rebuilt along old street lines. One major change was the Rebuilding Act of 1667, which banned the use of wood in construction. Buildings were now made from brick and stone, reducing future fire risks, myths and superstitions. In the wake of the fire, panic bred wild theories. People sought someone to blame. Foreigners and Catholics were immediate scapegoats. A French watchmaker, Robert Hubert, falsely confessed to starting the fire and was hanged, despite not arriving in London until after the fire had started. The year 1666 itself sparked superstition. The number 666 associated with the devil led many to believe the fire was divine punishment for England's sins. Witches and omens were blamed in some areas, with old women accused of summoning the fire through curses. Another fascinating theory: many believed the fire was a papist plot to overthrow Protestant England. Anti-Catholic sentiment swelled, and the monument to the Great Fire even carried an inscription blaming Catholics until the 1800s. Legacy: the Great Fire of London changed the city forever. While devastating, it cleared away unsanitary and overcrowded neighbourhoods, giving rise to a more modern, organised capital. It also led to advancements in urban planning and fire safety. Today you can visit the monument near Pudding Lane, a column erected in memory of the disaster. Nearby streets still bear names like Fireball Alley and Blazing Row, silent reminders of the catastrophe. The fire also lives on in children's rhymes and school curriculums, immortalised as a cautionary tale about complacency, disaster and resilience. The Great Fire of London wasn't just a disaster, it was a crucible. Out of the ashes of old London rose a city more resilient, more structured and more prepared. In its flames we see the fragility of life and the strength of rebuilding. And in the stories of people like Pepys, Charles II and the tragic maid on Pudding Lane, we find the humanity behind the history. Thank you for joining us on this journey through time. If you found this video insightful, please like, share and subscribe for more historical deep dives. And remember, history isn't just about the past, it's about understanding who we are today. Until next time, stay curious.